What if I told you that some of history's most captivating mysteries might actually be the key to the perfect night's sleep? Tonight, we're diving into a collection of historical conspiracies that are fascinating enough to hold your attention, yet soothing enough to guide you gently into dreamland. These aren't your typical adrenaline-pumping conspiracy theories that keep you wide awake, scrolling until 3 in the morning. Instead, these are carefully chosen tales from the past that strike the perfect balance between intrigue and tranquility. Before we begin our journey through time, find your most comfortable position, dim the lights, adjust your pillows, and let your breathing slow to a natural rhythm. Tonight's stories span centuries and continents, each one a gentle puzzle piece in the grand tapestry of human history. Some may be true, others might be elaborate myths, but all of them share one common thread. They're designed to ease your mind while satisfying your curiosity about the world's hidden secrets. Our first story takes us back to ancient Egypt, where the Great Pyramid of Giza stands as humanity's most enduring architectural marvel. For generations, people have wondered about the true purpose of this magnificent structure. While most history books tell us it was built as a tomb for Pharaoh Khufu, there's a gentler conspiracy theory that suggests something far more peaceful and mysterious. Some researchers propose that the Great Pyramid was actually designed as an ancient sleep sanctuary, a place where Egyptian priests would guide troubled souls into restorative slumber. According to this theory, the pyramid's precise mathematical proportions weren't just architectural achievements. They were acoustic calculations designed to create the perfect resonance for deep relaxation. The inner chambers, they suggest, would have been filled with the soft humming of sacred chants, creating vibrations that naturally synchronized with human brain waves during the transition to sleep. Archaeological evidence shows that the pyramid's internal structure includes chambers with remarkable acoustic properties. When you speak or hum inside certain areas, the sound seems to wrap around you like a warm blanket. Ancient Egyptian texts describe sleep as a journey to the realm of the gods, and perhaps the pyramid was humanity's first attempt at creating the ideal environment for this sacred transition between waking and dreaming. Imagine those ancient priests, draped in white linen robes, guiding visitors through torch-lit corridors toward chambers designed specifically for rest and restoration. The very stones themselves, quarried from sacred sites along the Nile, were believed to hold properties that promoted peaceful dreams. Moving forward through time, we find ourselves in medieval Europe, where another soothing conspiracy theory has emerged around the construction of Gothic cathedrals. These magnificent buildings, with their soaring spires and intricate stonework, were officially built as houses of worship. But some historians suggest they served a dual purpose as community sleep centers, designed to help an entire population achieve better rest. The theory goes that medieval architects, working closely with monks who understood the importance of proper sleep for spiritual well-being, incorporated specific design elements intended to promote relaxation and peaceful slumber. The high vaulted ceilings weren't just aesthetically pleasing. They were calculated to create optimal air circulation for sleeping congregations. The stained glass windows filtered sunlight in ways that naturally regulated circadian rhythms, while the stone construction provided the perfect cool temperature for deep sleep. According to this gentle conspiracy, the seemingly uncomfortable wooden pews were actually designed for a form of communal resting meditation practiced by medieval communities. People would gather in these sacred spaces during the afternoon hours, when energy naturally dips, to participate in guided rest sessions led by monks trained in what we might now recognize as early forms of sleep therapy. The soft echo of Gregorian chanting would fill these spaces, its rhythmic patterns designed to slow heart rates and calm racing minds. Even the positioning of the buildings was carefully planned. Most Gothic cathedrals face east to west, allowing the natural progression of light throughout the day to signal the body's internal clock about when to feel alert and when to prepare for rest. Whether or not medieval communities actually used their cathedrals for organized sleep sessions, modern sleep researchers have found that many Gothic cathedrals do indeed possess acoustic and architectural properties that promote relaxation. The next time you visit one of these ancient buildings, notice how your breathing naturally slows and your shoulders relax as you step inside. Our journey through peaceful conspiracies now takes us to Renaissance Italy, where we encounter the intriguing theory surrounding Leonardo da Vinci's lesser-known obsession with sleep and dreams. While da Vinci is famous for his inventions, art, and scientific observations, some scholars believe his greatest secret project was developing the perfect method for achieving restorative sleep. Hidden within da Vinci's countless notebooks, written in his characteristic mirror script, are detailed observations about sleep patterns, dream cycles, and the relationship between rest and creativity. The conspiracy theory suggests that Da Vinci was conducting systematic experiments on himself and willing volunteers, trying to unlock the secrets of optimal sleep. His famous habit of taking short naps throughout the day wasn't just a personal quirk. It was part of a carefully designed sleep schedule that he believed would maximize both physical recovery and creative potential. Some researchers point to Da Vinci's unfinished paintings and inventions as evidence that he was always working on something more important, a comprehensive guide to perfect sleep that would benefit all of humanity. They suggest that his study of human anatomy wasn't just for artistic purposes, but to understand how different sleeping positions affected the body's ability to rest and repair itself. According to this theory, Da Vinci designed special sleeping chambers in various locations throughout Italy, equipped with his own inventions for promoting better rest. These rooms allegedly featured carefully calculated ventilation systems, adjustable lighting that mimicked natural sunset progressions, and even mechanical devices that provided gentle rhythmic sounds similar to a mother's heartbeat or ocean waves. The most intriguing part of this conspiracy theory involves Da Vinci's detailed sketches of what appear to be early prototypes for weighted blankets, ergonomic pillows, and even devices that might have been primitive white noise machines. While we'll never know if Da Vinci truly was history's first sleep researcher, there's something wonderfully calming about imagining this brilliant mind dedicating his genius to helping people achieve better rest. As we drift further through history, we arrive in 18th century England, where a peculiar conspiracy theory surrounds the true purpose of English hedge mazes. These elaborate garden puzzles, found on the grounds of countless manor houses and estates, are typically thought of as entertainment for wealthy landowners and their guests. However, some historians propose a much more therapeutic explanation for their existence. The theory suggests that English hedge mazes were actually designed as walking meditation paths, specifically created to help people work through insomnia and anxiety. The winding paths, with their gentle curves and dead ends, weren't meant to frustrate visitors, but to provide a safe, enclosed space where troubled minds could wander freely without the pressure of reaching a specific destination. According to this conspiracy, wealthy families would employ specially trained groundskeepers who understood the psychological benefits of maze walking. These gardeners would maintain the hedges at specific heights and densities to create the perfect balance of enclosure and openness, helping visitors feel secure while still maintaining a connection to the sky above. The dead ends in these mazes weren't design flaws but intentional resting points, often featuring small benches or clearings where people could pause, reflect, and allow their minds to settle. The very act of walking slowly through the twisting paths, with no pressure to solve the puzzle quickly, naturally lowered stress hormones and prepared the body for sleep. Some versions of this theory even suggest that certain maze designs incorporated aromatic plants like lavender, chamomile, and jasmine at strategic points along the paths. As visitors walked through these gardens in the evening hours, they would be naturally exposed to these calming scents, creating a full sensory experience designed to promote relaxation and eventual sleepiness. Whether English hedge mazes were truly designed as therapeutic walking spaces or simply elaborate garden features, many people today find that slow, mindful walking in maze-like patterns can be incredibly soothing. The repetitive nature of the movement, combined with the gentle mental challenge of navigation, creates a perfect state of relaxed focus that naturally prepares the mind for rest. Our exploration of soothing historical conspiracies now brings us to ancient China, where the theory of secret sleep temples hidden within the Forbidden City has captured the imagination of researchers and dreamers alike. This gentle conspiracy suggests that beyond the grand halls and official chambers known to tourists and historians, there existed a network of specialized rooms dedicated entirely to the art of peaceful sleep. According to this theory, Chinese emperors and their courts understood that effective leadership required not just political cunning and military strength, but also the clarity of mind that comes only from truly restorative sleep. The conspiracy proposes that master craftsmen and sleep specialists were secretly commissioned to create the ultimate resting environments within the palace complex. These hidden sleep chambers were allegedly designed according to ancient Chinese principles of harmony and balance, with every element carefully chosen to promote the deepest possible rest. The rooms featured floors made from specific types of jade believed to have cooling and calming properties, while the walls were painted in soft, muted colors that research now shows actually do promote relaxation. The theory extends to suggest that these secret chambers included innovations that wouldn't appear in Western sleep research for centuries. Adjustable ventilation systems that maintained perfect temperature and humidity, specially woven silk bedding that regulated body temperature throughout the night, and even mechanical devices that created gentle, rhythmic sounds reminiscent of summer rain or distant wind chimes. Perhaps most intriguingly, this conspiracy theory proposes that the Forbidden City's secret sleep specialists developed detailed protocols for preparing the mind and body for rest. These might have included specific tea blends designed to promote sleepiness, gentle stretching routines performed before bed, and guided meditation techniques that helped even the most stressed imperial minds transition from the pressures of ruling an empire to the peaceful realm of dreams. While we may never know if such specialized sleep chambers truly existed within the Forbidden City, The very idea reflects ancient Chinese culture's deep understanding of sleep's importance for physical health, mental clarity, and spiritual well-being. Modern sleep researchers continue to discover that many traditional Chinese approaches to rest and relaxation have solid scientific foundations. As our journey through peaceful historical mysteries continues, we find ourselves drawn to a fascinating conspiracy theory about medieval monasteries and their alleged role as Europe's first sleep research institutions. This theory suggests that behind the official religious activities of prayer and study, monks were conducting sophisticated experiments in sleep optimization that wouldn't be matched by modern science for hundreds of years. The conspiracy proposes that monastic communities, with their emphasis on regular schedules and quiet contemplation, became inadvertent laboratories for understanding human sleep patterns. Monks, who were required to wake for middle-of-the-night prayers, began to notice how different sleeping arrangements, dietary choices, and evening activities affected their ability to fall back asleep after these interruptions. According to this theory, monasteries developed detailed records of sleep patterns, tracking which brothers experienced the most restful nights and trying to identify the factors that contributed to their success. These observations allegedly led to the development of specific sleeping positions, particular combinations of herbs for evening teas, and even architectural modifications to sleeping quarters that promoted better rest. The conspiracy suggests that certain monasteries became known throughout medieval Europe as places where people with severe insomnia could come for help, though this service was kept secret to avoid conflicting with the church's official mission. Monks who had discovered effective sleep techniques would quietly share their knowledge with desperate visitors, teaching them meditation practices, breathing exercises, and lifestyle adjustments that promoted natural sleepiness. Some versions of this theory propose that medieval illuminated manuscripts contain hidden sleep instructions, disguised as religious symbolism but actually providing detailed guidance for achieving restful sleep. The intricate patterns and soothing colors used in these manuscripts might have been chosen not just for their beauty, but for their ability to calm the mind when viewed before bedtime. Whether or not medieval monasteries truly functioned as secret sleep research centers, there's compelling evidence that monastic lifestyles did promote excellent sleep hygiene. The regular schedules, peaceful environments, limited artificial lighting, and emphasis on quiet reflection created ideal conditions for natural restorative sleep. Our exploration now takes us to 19th century America, where a gentle conspiracy theory surrounds the true purpose of the Underground Railroad's hidden rooms and secret passages. While we know this network primarily existed to help enslaved people escape to freedom, some historians suggest it also served as an early therapeutic network for helping traumatized individuals achieve healing sleep. According to this theory, the brave individuals who operated Underground Railroad stations understood that people escaping slavery often arrived in states of extreme exhaustion and trauma that made natural sleep nearly impossible. The conspiracy suggests that safe house operators developed specialized techniques for helping these individuals achieve the deep, restorative sleep necessary for both physical recovery and emotional healing. The hidden rooms and concealed spaces of the Underground Railroad this theory proposes were designed not just for safety but also for optimal rest. These spaces were kept at specific temperatures, provided with the softest available bedding, and sometimes equipped with subtle sound dampening that created cocoon-like environments perfect for recuperative sleep. The conspiracy extends to suggest that a network of healers and folk medicine practitioners secretly supported the Underground Railroad by sharing knowledge about sleep-promoting herbs, relaxation techniques, and methods for calming trauma-induced nightmares. These individuals allegedly developed gentle protocols for helping formerly enslaved people transition from the hypervigilance necessary for survival to the trust and relaxation required for healing sleep. Some versions of this theory propose that certain underground railroad stations included dedicated sleep helpers, individuals trained in what we might now recognize as early forms of sleep therapy and trauma counseling. These helpers would sit quietly with newcomers, providing reassuring presence and gentle guidance that helped anxious minds settle into much-needed rest. While the primary purpose of the Underground Railroad was undoubtedly freedom rather than sleep therapy, the idea that these networks of compassionate people also understood and addressed the sleep needs of traumatized individuals adds another layer of warmth to an already inspiring historical chapter. As we near the end of our journey through history's most soothing conspiracy theories, we encounter a fascinating story about Victorian-era botanical gardens and their alleged secret function as community sleep sanctuaries. This gentle conspiracy suggests that the elaborate public gardens created during the 19th century served a dual purpose, providing beautiful spaces for daytime recreation, while also offering carefully designed environments for evening relaxation and sleep preparation. According to this theory, Victorian botanists and garden designers worked secretly with early psychologists and medical professionals to create outdoor spaces that would naturally promote relaxation and sleepiness in urban populations struggling with the stresses of industrialization. The conspiracy proposes that these gardens were laid out according to specific principles designed to calm the nervous system and prepare visitors' minds for restful sleep. The theory suggests that evening garden walks became unofficial community sleep preparation rituals, with pathways designed to encourage slow, meditative movement through carefully planned sequences of aromatic plants. Garden designers allegedly positioned lavender, jasmine, and other naturally sedating plants along evening walking routes, creating subtle aromatherapy experiences that would help visitors feel naturally sleepy by the time they returned home. Some versions of this conspiracy theory propose that Victorian botanical gardens included hidden sleeping areas, secluded groves or pavilions where exhausted workers could safely rest during lunch breaks or after long shifts. These spaces were allegedly maintained by garden staff who understood the importance of providing urban populations with access to natural, restorative sleep environments. The conspiracy extends to suggest that garden designers incorporated specific color schemes and plant arrangements that research now shows do indeed promote relaxation. Deep greens, soft purples, and gentle blues were emphasized in evening viewing areas, while bright, stimulating colors were reserved for morning and midday sections of the gardens. Whether Victorian botanical gardens truly functioned as community sleep sanctuaries or simply provided beautiful recreational spaces, many people today find that evening walks through well-designed gardens do indeed promote better sleep. The combination of gentle exercise, fresh air, natural aromatherapy, and peaceful surroundings creates ideal conditions for transitioning from daily stress to nighttime rest. As our exploration of history's gentlest conspiracy theories draws to a close, take a moment to notice how your breathing has naturally deepened and your muscles have begun to relax. These stories, whether based in historical fact or born from hopeful imagination, share a common thread. They remind us that throughout human history, people have recognized the fundamental importance of good sleep and have worked creatively to achieve it. Perhaps the most beautiful aspect of these peaceful conspiracy theories is that they reflect humanity's eternal quest for rest, restoration, and dreams. From ancient Egyptian pyramids to Victorian gardens, from medieval monasteries to Renaissance workshops, each story suggests that our ancestors understood something we're still learning. That quality sleep isn't a luxury, but a necessity for human flourishing. Tonight, as you settle into your own rest, carry with you the image of those ancient sleep chambers, monastery gardens, and hidden sanctuaries. Let your imagination drift through hedge maze pathways and secret temple rooms designed entirely for peace and restoration. Whether these places existed exactly as the conspiracy theories describe doesn't matter as much as the gentle truth they represent, that sleep has always been sacred, and that creating the perfect environment for rest is one of humanity's most enduring and worthwhile pursuits. Allow these stories to remind you that you're part of a long tradition of people who have sought and found peace in the transition between waking and sleeping. As your eyelids grow heavy and your thoughts begin to drift, know that you're joining countless generations who have discovered that the path to dreams begins with simply letting go and trusting in the natural rhythm of rest that has carried humanity safely through every night in our shared history. Sweet dreams, and may your sleep be as peaceful as the gentle mysteries we've explored together tonight. What if I told you that the most powerful people in history might have used secret knowledge to control your sleep patterns? And tonight, I'm going to share these forbidden theories that are so mind-bendingly bizarre, they'll actually put you to sleep. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you'll discover historical conspiracies so wild and intricate that your brain will have no choice but to surrender to slumber. Welcome back to another deep dive into the mysterious corners of history. I'm your host, and tonight we're exploring something completely different. Instead of trying to keep you awake with shocking revelations, we're going to use the hypnotic power of historical conspiracy theories to guide you into the most peaceful sleep you've had in weeks. Now, before we begin, let me explain the science behind why conspiracy theories can actually be perfect sleep aids. When your mind encounters complex, interconnected narratives with just enough plausibility to be intriguing, but enough uncertainty to prevent anxiety, your brain enters a unique state. It's engaged enough to stop racing thoughts about tomorrow's responsibilities, but relaxed enough to gradually wind down. Think of it as mental white noise, but infinitely more fascinating. Tonight, we're going to journey through 7 of history's most elaborate and sleep-inducing conspiracy theories. Each one is designed to capture your imagination while slowly relaxing your conscious mind. So, adjust your pillow, dim those lights, and let's begin our descent into the wonderfully weird world of historical mysteries. Our first stop takes us to ancient Egypt, where some theorists believe the pyramids weren't just tombs, sophisticated sleep laboratories. According to this theory, the ancient Egyptian priesthood discovered that specific geometric shapes and mathematical ratios could induce different brainwave states. The Great Pyramid of Giza, with its precise angles and internal chambers, was allegedly designed as the ultimate sleep therapy center for pharaohs and high priests. The theory suggests that the king's chamber was positioned at exactly the right height and angle to create acoustic resonances that would synchronize with human brainwaves. When combined with the pyramid's magnetic properties created by its limestone and granite construction, it could supposedly guide a person through all 5 stages of sleep in perfect harmony. The conspiracy goes deeper, claiming that this knowledge was so powerful that it was deliberately hidden from common people and eventually lost. Proponents of this theory point to the fact that many visitors to the Great Pyramid report feeling unusually drowsy or experiencing vivid dreams after spending time in the king's chamber. They also note that the pyramid's internal temperature remains constant at exactly 68 degrees Fahrenheit, which modern sleep science identifies as optimal for deep sleep. While archaeologists dismiss these claims, the mathematical precision of the pyramids continues to puzzle researchers, lending just enough credibility to keep this theory alive in the minds of alternative historians. Moving forward in time, we encounter the medieval European conspiracy of the dream merchants. This theory proposes that during the Middle Ages, a secret guild of herbalists and alchemists controlled the sleep patterns of entire populations through carefully orchestrated distribution of sleep-inducing substances in common foods and drinks. According to this elaborate theory, the dream merchants were originally formed by a group of Byzantine scholars who had preserved ancient Greek and Roman knowledge about sleep and dreams. As the Roman Empire fell, these scholars recognized that whoever could control sleep could ultimately control society. They established a network that stretched from Constantinople to the British Isles, working through monasteries, taverns, and merchant guilds. The conspiracy suggests that these dream merchants would strategically dose water supplies, bread, and ale with mild sedatives during times of political unrest, ensuring that potential rebellions would literally sleep through the night before they could gain momentum. They supposedly used a combination of herbs like valerian, passion flower, and chamomile, but also more exotic substances imported from the far reaches of the known world. What makes this theory particularly compelling is the documented historical use of sleep-inducing substances in medieval medicine. Monastery gardens were indeed filled with plants known for their sedative properties, and medieval physicians wrote extensively about sleep remedies. The theory suggests that this knowledge was far more organized and widespread than historians typically acknowledge, pointing to the unusual number of medieval texts that discuss dreams and sleep in almost mystical terms. The dream merchants allegedly kept detailed records of their activities, written in a coded language that combined Latin, Arabic, and alchemical symbols. These records were supposedly hidden in various European libraries and monasteries, disguised as religious texts or philosophical treatises. While no definitive proof of such an organization has been found, the sheer volume of medieval sleep-related texts and the sophisticated understanding of herbal sedatives displayed in them continues to fuel speculation among conspiracy theorists. Our journey through time brings us to Renaissance Italy, where we encounter the theory of the Medici Sleep Codex. This conspiracy claims that the powerful Medici family didn't just patronize art and banking, but secretly funded research into what they called the architecture of dreams. According this theory, Medici agents commissioned artists and architects to embed specific visual patterns and proportions into buildings and artworks that would subconsciously influence viewers' sleep cycles. The conspiracy suggests that Leonardo da Vinci was one of the primary researchers in this secret project. His famous notebooks, already filled with mysterious codes and backwards writing, allegedly contain detailed studies on how certain geometric patterns and color combinations could induce different states of consciousness. The theory claims that many Renaissance masterpieces contain hidden sleep-inducing elements, carefully calculated to create a sense of peace and drowsiness in viewers. Proponents point to the unusual number of sleeping figures in Renaissance art, from Michelangelo's sculptures to countless paintings depicting peaceful slumber. They argue that these weren't just artistic choices, but deliberate attempts to normalize and celebrate sleep as part of a larger social engineering project. The Medici family, with their extensive network of artists, architects, and scholars, supposedly used this research to maintain social stability in Florence and other Italian city-states. The theory extends to Renaissance architecture, claiming that certain buildings were designed with proportions that would naturally calm visitors and promote restful thinking. The famous spiral staircases of the period, the specific ratios used in room dimensions, and even the placement of windows were all allegedly calculated to work with human circadian rhythms. While art historians dismiss these claims as overinterpretation, the mathematical sophistication of Renaissance art and architecture continues to reveal new layers of complexity that fuel such theories. As we drift deeper into our historical exploration, we encounter the curious case of the Napoleonic Dream Wars. This conspiracy theory suggests that Napoleon Bonaparte's military success wasn't just due to superior tactics and artillery, but because he had access to ancient techniques for disrupting enemy sleep patterns while optimizing his own army's rest. According to this theory, during Napoleon's Egyptian campaign, he discovered papyrus scrolls in a hidden chamber beneath the Sphinx that detailed ancient Egyptian methods for weaponizing sleep and dreams. These techniques supposedly allowed military commanders to project disturbing dreams into enemy camps while ensuring their own soldiers experienced restorative, confidence-building sleep. The conspiracy claims that Napoleon established a secret unit called the Morpheus Battalion, composed of scholars, mystics, and physicians who studied these ancient sleep warfare techniques. They allegedly used a combination of sound frequencies, aromatic compounds, and even specially trained messenger pigeons to deliver sleep-disrupting substances to enemy positions during crucial battles. What makes this theory particularly intriguing is Napoleon's well-documented unusual sleep patterns. Historical records show that he typically slept only 4 hours per night, but remained remarkably alert and decisive during long military campaigns. The conspiracy suggests that he had learned ancient techniques for maximizing the restorative power of brief sleep periods, giving him a significant advantage over opponents who required traditional amounts of rest. The theory also attempts to explain Napoleon's sudden defeats, particularly at Waterloo, as the result of British intelligence discovering and countering his sleep warfare techniques. Supposedly, the Duke of Wellington had access to captured French documents that revealed the Morpheus Battalion's methods, allowing him to protect his own troops while turning Napoleon's sleep weapons against unusual phenomena during Napoleonic battles, including reports of soldiers falling asleep standing up, entire units experiencing the same nightmares, and unexplained instances of mass exhaustion among troops who should have been well rested. While military historians attribute these accounts to the stress and chaos of warfare, conspiracy theorists see evidence of sophisticated psychological warfare techniques. Moving into the Victorian era, we encounter the theory of the Great British Sleep Conspiracy, which suggests that the British Empire's global dominance was partially maintained through systematic control of colonial populations' sleep patterns. This elaborate theory proposes that British administrators used a combination of architectural design, dietary manipulation, and social customs to ensure that colonized peoples remained in a state of chronic mild sleep deprivation, making them more compliant and less likely to organize effective resistance. The conspiracy claims that British colonial architecture wasn't just about displaying power, but about creating environments that subtly disrupted natural sleep cycles. Government buildings, schools, and even residential areas were supposedly designed with specific acoustic properties that would create low-level sound pollution, just enough to prevent deep sleep without being consciously noticeable. According to this theory, the British also manipulated local food supplies, introducing crops and dietary changes that would affect sleep quality. The promotion of tea drinking, for instance, wasn't just about creating economic dependence, but about introducing caffeine into populations that had never consumed stimulants regularly. The timing of tea consumption was supposedly calculated to maximize its sleep-disrupting effects, while maintaining the appearance of a beneficial social custom. The conspiracy extends to religious and social practices, claiming that British administrators encouraged changes in local customs that would fragment traditional sleep patterns. The introduction of European work schedules, educational systems that required early morning attendance, and social events timed to conflict with natural circadian rhythms were all supposedly part of a coordinated effort to maintain colonial control through sleep manipulation. What gives this theory its persistence is the well-documented health problems that emerged in many British colonies, including increased rates of what we now recognize as sleep-related disorders, the disruption of traditional ways of life. While historically attributed to cultural and economic changes, is reinterpreted by conspiracy theorists as evidence of deliberate sleep warfare on a global scale. Our penultimate historical conspiracy takes us to the American Civil War and the theory of Lincoln's Dream Network. This fascinating conspiracy suggests that President Abraham Lincoln, known for his prophetic dreams and interest in the supernatural, secretly established a network of dream interpreters and sleep researchers to gain intelligence advantages during the war. According to this theory, Lincoln believed that dreams could provide genuine glimpses into future events and enemy plans. He supposedly recruited individuals with claimed psychic abilities, combined with early sleep researchers and physicians, to create what conspiracy theorists call the Oniric Intelligence Service. This secret organization allegedly used controlled sleep experiments and dream interpretation to supplement traditional military intelligence. The conspiracy claims that Lincoln's famous dreams about his own assassination weren't just anxiety-induced nightmares, but part of a larger pattern of prophetic dreaming that had been systematically cultivated through specific sleep techniques. The theory suggests that he learned these methods from Native American shamans, European mystics, and even former slaves who had preserved African dream traditions. Proponents point to Lincoln's well-documented unusual sleep habits and his frequent references to meaningful dreams in his correspondence. They also note the unusually accurate intelligence that Union forces seem to possess during certain crucial battles, suggesting that conventional spying was supplemented by supernatural means. The theory claims that Confederate forces eventually discovered Lincoln's dream network and began using countermeasures, leading to some of the Union's later military setbacks. The conspiracy extends beyond the war itself, suggesting that Lincoln's assassination was orchestrated not just by Confederate sympathizers, but by a secret society that had discovered his psychic intelligence network and viewed it as a threat to established power structures. According to this theory, John Wilkes Booth was manipulated by forces that understood the true nature of Lincoln's supernatural abilities and sought to prevent him from using them to reshape post-war America. Our final historical conspiracy brings us to the early 20th century and the theory of Tesla's dream machine. This elaborate conspiracy suggests that Nikola Tesla, the famous inventor and electrical engineer, secretly developed technology that could broadcast specific electromagnetic frequencies to influence human sleep and dream patterns on a massive scale. According to this theory, Tesla's well-documented experiments with wireless power transmission were actually cover stories for more sinister research into what he called neurological broadcasting. The conspiracy claims that Tesla discovered that human brainwaves could be influenced by precisely calibrated electromagnetic fields, allowing for remote control of sleep cycles and dream content. The theory suggests that Tesla's famous laboratory in Colorado Springs wasn't just for electrical experiments, but served as a testing ground for broadcasting sleep-inducing frequencies across large geographical areas. Conspiracy theorists claim that Tesla's notebooks, many of which remain classified or have disappeared, contain detailed plans for networks of transmission towers that could blanket entire continents with sleep-controlling electromagnetic fields. What makes this conspiracy particularly compelling is Tesla's genuine eccentric behavior and his documented interest in the effects of electricity on biological systems. He reportedly slept only 2 hours per night, claimed to receive ideas through dreams and visions, and spoke frequently about the potential for wireless technology to influence human consciousness. The conspiracy claims that Tesla's technology was eventually acquired by government agencies after his death, forming the basis for modern mind control programs. Proponents point to the continuing mystery surrounding many of Tesla's unpublished papers and the fact that some of his research remains classified decades after his death. According to the theory, Tesla's dream machine technology was never fully implemented because the inventor became concerned about its potential for abuse. He supposedly sabotaged his own research in his final years, destroying crucial components and encoding remaining information in ways that would prevent it from being misused. As we reach the end of our journey through these wonderfully bizarre historical sleep conspiracies, take a moment to notice how your mind has shifted. These intricate theories, with their elaborate details and tantalizing possibilities, have guided your thoughts away from the mundane concerns of daily life and into a realm where anything seems possible. The beauty of using historical conspiracies as sleep aids lies not in their truth or falsehood, but in their ability to engage your imagination while simultaneously relaxing your analytical mind. Each theory we've explored tonight contains just enough historical fact to seem plausible, combined with creative speculation that prevents your brain from becoming too invested in verifying details. Whether ancient Egyptians really used pyramids as sleep laboratories, whether the Medici family embedded dream-inducing patterns in Renaissance art, or whether Tesla developed electromagnetic dream machines, these stories serve a purpose beyond their historical accuracy. They provide your mind with fascinating puzzles to contemplate as consciousness fades, replacing anxiety and stress with wonder and curiosity. The conspiracies we've explored tonight represent humanity's eternal fascination with the mysteries of sleep and consciousness. Throughout history, every culture has developed theories about the nature of dreams, the purpose of sleep, and the potential for controlling these fundamental aspects of human experience. While modern science provides increasingly sophisticated explanations for sleep phenomena, the human imagination continues to weave elaborate theories that speak to our deepest desires for understanding and control. As your eyelids grow heavy and your breathing deepens, remember that sleep itself is perhaps the greatest conspiracy of all. Each night you surrender consciousness to a process that remains fundamentally mysterious, despite centuries of scientific study. You trust your brain to guide you through multiple sleep stages, to process memories, repair tissues, and prepare you for another day of waking experience. Tonight, as you drift off to sleep, perhaps you'll dream of ancient Egyptian priests conducting sleep experiments in hidden pyramid chambers, or Renaissance artists encoding secret sleep patterns in their masterpieces. Maybe you'll envision Napoleon's dream warriors projecting visions across battlefields, or Lincoln consulting his network of psychic advisors in the White House. These historical sleep conspiracies remind us that the boundary between imagination and reality becomes beautifully blurred in the moments before sleep. As your conscious mind releases its grip on logical analysis, allow these strange and wonderful theories to carry you into the realm of dreams, where all conspiracies are possible and all mysteries await exploration. Sweet dreams, and remember that sometimes the most powerful truths are found not in facts, but in the stories that help us understand our deepest human experiences. Until next time, sleep well and dream of the fascinating mysteries that history has left us to ponder.